Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hello, hello, how do you do? We are the boys in white and blue, and we are back for another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam territory at the University of beautiful and somewhat smoky and very hot British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pander.
And I'm Zachariah Eisenhower.
And if you take a look out the window, it might look like it's all the smoke from the wildfires, but it's not. It's because Christian Dahomey is on fire. He's got 2 more goals to his credit, including horribly taken down, but managed to bravely pick himself up to score a penalty. We'll be covering all of that. We'll be covering the Gold Cup heartbreak for Canada, the additional heartbreak tonight of America winning it. We'll be talking a little bit CPL, a little bit MLS news of the week, and of course, we've got to talk about the big news story of the weekend. Yes, Bray Wyatt has been released by WWE. Steve broke that news to me while I was out walking the dog on Saturday morning. Devastated. He was the man that single-handedly got me back into watching wrestling, and I can't believe it, Steve.
Oh, I'm not devastated because he's probably going to go on to do something better.
Well, yeah.
Out there. So I'm not.
But that was the only reason I was still watching WWE. I mean, I love Alexa Bliss.
I would even watch it for him. So I wasn't even watching it for anybody at this point.
He's going to thrive in AEW, which is where he will surely land.
Yeah, we'll see.
The creative control he is going to have in there is just going to be magnificent, I feel. But, yep, that was one of the big news items this weekend. Oh yeah, and there's a new Scottish guy in Vancouver. Can you have too many Scots in Vancouver? I guess we'll find out. But before we delve into all the football chat, it's time to continue the gift that keeps on giving. Steve Pander's loving gift to Zach and myself for Christmas. A box of 2011 Upper Deck MLS trading cards. We're opening a pack every week. Let's get this week's packs open. Oh, I like to rip it off on a Sunday night. You can go first, Zach.
I think I have a couple goalkeepers in this pack. I have from the Chicago Fire, Andrew Dykstra.
Oh, well, it's funny that you have Dykstra because don't stick your finger in his hole. From Portland Timbers, it's Bright DK.
Oh, I got that card. Oh no. A multi-time member of the Philadelphia Union and former Vancouver Whitecap, Sebastian Letou, and former Flounder, of course, Sebastian Letou.
Very short-lived time in Vancouver. The Fred Gwynn of the Munsters look-alike, as I always like to think of him. Well, I have the GOAT next, or a GOAT. Not the greatest of all time. It's a Chivas USA player. Giancarlo Maldonado.
Oh yeah, I got him.
No idea who he is.
Steve, you can just boo as I show this card here.
I can't see it.
Oh,
Teal Bunbury. Oh yeah, boo.
traitor.
Oh, that's it.
But he scored 2 goals in that game.
Yeah. I was losing my nut. We have a couple of Dos Santoses here. Here's a single Santos. From TFC, it's Maicon Santos.
I got that one. I have here this. I got to double check. This could be my. I know you have this guy. I'm not sure if I do. Defender Bobby Boswell.
Oh, yeah, I have 2 of him.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I got to check.
I checked my cards yesterday. I was putting them all in their little protective sheaths. It's always very important to practice that when you're dealing with things like this. 13 doubles I have so far.
I have 0 so far.
Good. Well, They say better red than dead.
It's the other way around. It's the other way around.
Better dead than red.
Yeah.
From TFC, it's another guy, a defender, Dan Gargan.
Oh, I have that one too. This one I know you have. It's one of those players who just likes one name. Fred.
Oh, yes. I might have 2 Freds. 2 Freds are better than one. Better Fred than dead. Shay now.
Oh,
it's Shay
Salinas.
He came over from Philadelphia? I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Draft
We got
In the expansion.
Yeah, and then we got Jordan Harvey on the other side. That's right.
Philadelphia took him in the 2009 expansion draft, and then we took him in the 2010. And now he's back where it all started for him at San Jose.
I have another one of Steve's favorite players from that same game of the trader. Jimmy Nielsen.
Oh.
Speaking of nuts.
Well, this guy didn't really hurt his nuts, but he did hurt his ankle at Empire Field from FC Dallas. Watch out, Johnny Leathers. It's David Ferreira.
His boy scored today. Nice goal.
Oh, yeah.
I remember WFC 2 days. Jim Nielsen came with, who did he come with? Some Oklahoma team or something.
Yeah.
And I interviewed him. I talked to him about that call. I told him about how the Craig McEwen said he lost his nut.
He was stinking of cigarettes.
Yeah.
He liked a cigarette. That was a fun interview. He was really, really good that day when we had a chat with him.
Jimmy Nielsen liked his cigarettes?
Yes.
Yeah.
But let's get into the modern day football chat now. We're going forward 10 years from the 2011 MLS to the 2021 MLS. The Whitecaps are no longer calling Sandy, Utah home. It's all over for them down there. And it finished with more of a whimper than a bang, although I guess stoppage time was quite exciting. It wasn't a great game.
It was a good stoppage time for them for once.
Yes, for once. It was a stoppage time that left Minnesota United rightly seething, their fans very upset this weekend. And I don't blame them. If it had happened to us, I would have been raging. We will come to that. But it was a 2-2 draw with Minnesota United. It was not a fantastic game. It didn't hold a lot of it. For a game with 4 goals, I didn't enjoy it at all, Steve.
Yeah, the goals were... in between the goals, basically, there was nothing going on.
Yeah.
For some reason, there was like the goal and then just dead. It would be just like highs and low, like very few highs, but a lot of low. I don't know. It probably had a lot to do with Minnesota playing a game like late midweek. I think Thursday.
They played Wednesday against LAFC. And they had the stoppage time drama in that one, equalising basically the last kick of the game. So, I mean, they came into this a little tired.
Yeah.
It was a long trip, though, for Vancouver to get down there. They didn't have a great flight down on the Friday. There was some delays. They got to the hotel late. There was a late meeting. That kind of disrupted a couple of things that we were going to do as well. And it was just... Russell Tybert said afterwards, it was a difficult game for them because as much as everyone was happy that they were back home, there was guys that have come back to Vancouver and they don't have anywhere to live at the moment. They're still trying to find apartments. And when you've got families and you're living out of a hotel room, it's not the ideal preparation for a game. And I know a lot of folk will say, well, why did they not just stay down there for one extra week? The guys had enough. They just wanted to get back to Vancouver, rightly or wrongly. I think it was the right decision, because there was definitely a spring in their step at training this week. There was a lot of guys really happy.
And it was a good first half for them too.
Yeah.
Deep, up to the point where they gave up the goal.
I mean, we talk about not much happening. I went into the MLS website, Zach, and at halftime, they had 5 video highlights from the first half. 2 of them were the goals, and the first 3 were offside decisions that weren't even, like, of note.
Yeah. I mean, my thoughts, and I think I told you this, Michael, I might have told both of you, but it felt like Christmas in July. Like, this game was a game of gifts. There was gifts being given out all over the place. 2 of the goals were from very, very, very poor passes that were easily intercepted. And then what we'll get to later on, where there was a gift from the officiating.
Yeah. I mean, there was 2 changes for Vancouver going into this one. Jake Nerwinski came in for Javain Brown, which I was a little bit surprised with how well Javain had been playing. And then when you saw Brown coming on later on, you kind of see that spark that he brings on the offensive side. But I think Jake was more brought in for his defensive role, and in particular handling the likes of Reneso. And I mean, he did well enough. Tybert came in as well for the suspended Caio Alexandre. And fantastically, Cava got to serve his 1-game suspension in this one, because technically he could have joined up, because Tesho Akindele came back and played for Orlando. Yeah. So, I mean, that's good to get that out of the way. It's the 1+ from Canada getting beat by Mexico. I mean, what was your thoughts on Nerwinski and for Brown, looking at it from a defensive standpoint?
I feel like Javain Brown does offer quite a bit defensively. I don't see the main difference. I feel like he's like always getting his foot to the ball and being able to clear it and just being able to lunge at stuff without getting himself in trouble. The one thing I'll say is, though, Jake did provide provided I think a decent chance for Bikel in the box in the first half. It was a nice pass right to him, and Bikel just like launched it for some reason. He had so much time in that spot, and then you got the other change, Tiber, you were talking about. He set up the first goal. So yeah. So I think the substitutions, the changes, kind of worked in their favor. Even though I don't buy the Jake in for Brown for defensive purposes, because I don't see a defensive lacking defensively for Javain Brown.
That's fair enough. And it was weird because, like, the first half, there was little of note. Vancouver had a couple of half chances, and a couple of them fell to Janio Bikel, and he probably could have done better with one, if not both, the chances he had. But the deadlock was broken in the 36th minute. Christian Dahomey, as you mentioned there, great through ball from Russell Tybert. When I first saw it, I was pretty sure it was going to get called back for offside. It just looked like Dahomey had just gone a little bit too early. But as soon as
more offside than Villa.
Yeah. You're not going to get over that.
No.
When you saw the replay, though, I mean, Dahomey did fantastically to time his run to perfection and stay on side. And it was a cool, composed finish.
Fantastic finish. And like I said, Tybert, like a lot of people say, Tybert doesn't provide passing, but he, in this case, it was perfectly timed. He got it right in front of him, so Dahomey could just run on it. And yeah, Dahomey, perfect finish, didn't give it a goalkeeper any chance to save it.
I agree with both of you. It was a good pass from Russell, and I also, Michael, thought for sure as I saw the replay, I'm like, oh, this is being called back. This is definitely going to be called offside, but it wasn't. And nice finish, like you said earlier in the show. Dahomey is in great form, which is was really, really encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, I pegged him in the season preview that he would get into double digits, and I thought Cava would as well. I said I fancied them both to do it. Might be a bit of work for Cava to get there, but he's got a playmaker now, hopefully setting him up.
One question for you guys about the lineup, because I don't buy, even though they both made contributions in the bigger picture. I when I saw the lineup, it was a little bit of a letdown. Like, it was a little bit. Like,
it was.
they're not really going for this one. They're like,
Yeah.
So Brown for Jake is like Brown is obviously now clearly ahead of Jake in the pecking order. So I thought that was a letdown, even though Steve's right. He did produce that one good cross. And Michael, you're also right. Like as soon as Brown came into the game, you're like, oh yeah. And I think everyone's like, oh yeah, why didn't he start?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
But my question for you guys is with Russell. Like, yeah, he provided a nice pass, but overall, I didn't think it really lifted the team to where it needed to be. But
No.
Who else would you have put in the spot for this game, or how else would you have configured things in this game, right? Because you had no Caillou, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only other guy you'd have brought in would have been Leo Wusu, and he's
Right.
clearly not
On the
in
out.
favour just now anyway. So, I mean, I think it was always going to be Tybert. But I mean, going forward, Tybert and Nowinski, I don't see them as regular starters at all in this team.
No, but here's the thing: if you really wanted to, if you really wanted to give some players a rest or try something different, I think this could have been a nice game for Owusu to get.
Yeah, but he's done something to Marc dos Santos. He's insulted his Portuguese heritage or something like that. I don't know what he's done, but he's not getting off the bench, man.
He's clearly not showing something at training.
Right.
Yeah, or my feel the transfer window's open. So I thought maybe for a while there, I thought maybe he was being transferred, that they didn't want to risk an injury because he has been.
Hey, he still might, because it's like we do have a bit of a log jam at midfield, and Marc has talked that Patrick Metcalf has been unfortunate not to get in the team because he's been doing well at training. And I mean, I guess you could have maybe stuck Metcalf in for Tybert, but I think he went for the experienced factor with Jake, the experienced factor with Tybert. Because let's make no bones about it, this was a massive game for them. Because, as we'll cover in the next part, Dallas won, San Jose won, 2 surprising road victories.
Yeah.
The gap is kind of increasing. They had to take something from this match, and ideally all 3 points. And it was a massive game, and I think these could be 2 drop points that prove very costly down the line. One of the bad bits from the game, like the LAFC game, they take the lead, but they just can't get into half-time with that lead. They just can't hold on to it. It's like the worst dog walker in the world, just can't hold on to a lead. Right on the stroke of half-time, Ethan Finlay, who had an interesting role to play at the end of both halves, got into a through ball from Robin Lod. Nice through ball, split the last 2 Whitecaps defenders. Finlay fires home. I think Hassal should have got a hand to it, could have got a hand to it. What about the defenders? I think it was Godoy and Gutierrez. Do you feel they maybe should have been better, closed Finlay down?
Yeah, you could have said that, but I think it was more to Finlay's individual, ability to split them.
Good goal.
I do feel like Hassal was a little bit stuck in concrete a little bit in his decision making. I think in other games I've seen him make that save, and getting a fingertip or a little bit of your finger to it, I think it would have affected, because it wasn't a bullet of a shot, it was more of a curling shot. So I think a little bit of a deflection could have taken it off. So I do, and it looked like after he let the goal in, it looked like body language wise that he was more disappointed in himself than the defenders. Yeah,
he'll have known, Zach, that he really should have got a hand to that. Because when you see it from the angle from behind the goal, you're like, oh, he went down a bit too early and then couldn't get across to get to the ball. But that was a disappointing one. And I mean, we've talked about them giving up leads in stoppage time at the end of games. They have to see leads out into half time.
In one way, the half as a whole felt a little bit like a second half for them. And this was especially one of the ways where it did in terms of giving a goal up at the end of the game. I think you guys are spot on in terms of Hassal could have done better. I don't think it was the worst goal he's ever let
in. No.
But I'm sorry, it definitely wasn't the worst goal he's ever let in playing in MLS. But I think overall, when you look at that goal, it's more of a nice passing and movement play from from the other side.
Yeah, I mean,
from Minnesota's perspective.
Lod's always dangerous. He took a little bit of time finding his feet in MLS, and then once he did, he's been outstanding for Minnesota.
He's a load for defenders.
He is. You bring Max back next week, surely. You don't continue with Hassau in goals?
Oh, for sure. No, Max is definitely the starting keeper.
Yeah.
Max
I'm surprised you'd even ask that question, Mike.
I just thought I'd stick it out there, just in case. Folk like to see the young guns getting their chance, but yeah, Max he's got to come back in. I mean, he's just coming off an absolutely fantastic performance in the Gold Cup, for one thing. Second half, like I said, the message at halftime, it should have been, guys, Dallas and San Jose have won today. You have got to get something from this. Maybe that was the message, and maybe it was like, whatever it is, you've got to get something from it, because they didn't look like they were pushing to get the victory. The only team that looked like they were going to break the deadlock was Minnesota, and they came close in the 69th minute. It was nice. Who now? Off the post with a header from a free kick. Who now?
He's a rock star.
6 minutes later, though, it was 2-1. No big surprise the way the game was going. Vancouver offering very little, basically offering nothing. It was a great solo goal from that man again, Load. I thought Godoy was shocking on this. He just got turned inside out. He seemed slow. He seemed out of position. Not a good goal defensively for the Caps. Good goal, though, from a Minnesota perspective.
Yeah, but the thing is I do agree Godoy didn't look good on that, but, they were probably caught off guard because it was a horrible pass by Bikel.
Yes.
And it just, like, he had the player that he wanted to pass to, but it's almost like he scuffed the X button when he was setting it up. And yeah, it didn't look good at all. And then they turned around right away. And yeah, Godoy was caught. I don't know what he was doing angle-wise with his feet. I
know,
feel like
he just looked like flat. I mean, you talked about Hassau being like stuck in concrete. He looked like he was stuck in concrete for that.
And put in the wrong position when he first started too.
Yeah, that's where it went wrong, because he couldn't then turn round.
The worst thing you want to do is let him get inside. You want to actually drive him outside instead of inside. And he gave him the inside lane. So yeah, not good for Godoy, but you can maybe give it up to the really being unexpectedly on the defensive side after that pass.
Vancouver after that had to go for it, and they went all in, triple substitution, and it definitely added a bit of spark to St. Ricketts up front. Definitely added a spark. Brian White did not have a good game. I think after the game, someone had mentioned he only had 19 touches in the whole game, which is not good at all. Looking at the Who Scored ratings, he wasn't the worst rated Whitecap. That was Michael Baldissimo at 5.8. He got 6. Thomas Hassau got 5.9. All the subs, including Theo Bayer, who got 6, were like on or better than White. So Metcalf got 6.3. Brown got 6.6 from the brief time he was on the pitch, and Raposo got 6.1.
Yeah, but you have to be able to handle the ball in order to make, like he didn't have the ball enough to make a mistake to get lower. He basically got just like an average mark because he barely was a factor.
Vancouver's star man in the ratings was Christian Dahomey at 8.2.
Oh, 2 goals, yeah.
Reynoso got 8.5 for Minnesota, which I was a bit surprised when I saw that, because, I mean, he's a good player, but...
Maybe he set up both goals? I don't know.
No, because Load set up the first one, and the second one was a solo effort by Load, so I thought that was weird. But the reason Dahomey got that high plaudit, 2 minutes into stoppage time, all hope looking lost, and then a cynical, horrible challenge by Finlay, scything down Christian Dahomey. Poor Christian as he ran into the box. Obviously, I'm exaggerating a little bit. It was never a penalty for me.
Never.
Never.
You know how
if that goes against you, you are raging.
I probably am raging, but honestly, I've seen worse penalties called than that. It's like they were acting like this is the worst call in the history of soccer.
Well, it might be the worst one that Minnesota's been on the end of, though. I mean, we've been on the end of some bad ones, like Corey Bair's dive.
Yeah,
that even got
the thing
reviewed
is,
by VAR.
but I've seen this worse stuff called in the World Cup, like where somebody jumps in front of somebody trying to clear the ball and they get hit by the clearance, by the kick, and it
But
gets called a penalty. I don't know. For me, I'll say this from the referee's angle because I checked it out. The referee was behind the play, so he could not have seen Dahomey jump in front of Finlay. It was like the way it was is like he basically got in between Finlay and the ball. There was clear space.
Oh yeah, I don't blame the referee for this. It's the fourth official or the VAR review.
But the VAR review, it wasn't enough to. And even some of the commentators even said that once it's called a penalty, there's not enough to overturn it because it's not clear and obvious.
I understand that they were calling it. The only reason why they didn't have the referee look at it is because they felt it wasn't clear and obvious.
Yeah.
I, like Michael, disagree that it was clear and obvious that was never a penalty.
I just find that it was, for me, it wasn't clear and obvious as well. It's not enough to overturn a penalty. Like there was contact.
I think that was what the decision has been in the end. Yeah.
By rule, there was contact, and Dahomey was in between the defender and the ball.
Yeah, but by rule there was contact. Contact was initiated by Dahomey.
I don't know. It wasn't, because if you look at it, Finlay was the one that went into Dahomey.
To me, it's clear and obvious. It was initiated by Dahomey.
I'm not talking about the upper body initiation. I'm talking about the legs.
Yeah,
Finlay,
but
Dahomey puts himself in front of Finlay. Yeah. He moves his leg into Finlay.
He put it in front, but the Finlay was the one that moved into Dahomey at that point.
I don't often like to agree with Stephen Caldwell, but to me, it's almost a foul on Dahomey. Dahomey fouls. If you want to call what he did up in the upper body, where he put his arm on him or something like that, yes, you can call that. But down the lower body, no, there was no foul. But the game's not upper or lower; it's both. So
I know, but you can't review that. You can't review upper body. You can't. I don't think you can.
You can
review anything if you think it should negate a penalty.
For me, I agree that if you want to review it, but I saw a worse penalty this week in another MLS game than this one. So
it can't only be a game of comparison. It should be what happened on the play.
For me, this is not that emphatic of a yes, it's a penalty. No, it's not a penalty. It's not that emphatic.
Well, let's hear from one of the men involved, Ethan Finlay, who is going to explain how things played out from his point of view.
Let's just start with the ending, and we'll go back to the good stuff that you had earlier. What did you walk us through? How you viewed that last play?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you two point of views. In real time, obviously a ball comes just ricocheted off my chest, puts him into space. I know that he's to my right, but I try to take just a straight line kind of towards the ball, knowing that he's there. And I didn't know if he had the inside shoulder on me necessarily, but I was just going to keep my line essentially. And I felt like I did that throughout that moment. And I felt like it was more of a lunge by him, into me. And obviously anytime that you're running shoulder to shoulder with someone in the box, you're trying to do it gingerly, if you will. And that, in those moments that refs are looking to make calls, but I don't know what else a player can do in that situation. Now that I've seen it back, I think anywhere else on the field, if you ask 99 people out there, 100 people out there, 99 are going to tell you that's a foul on him probably. And I just, I don't know how you can just throw a leg out in front of a player, really from a side angle, and consider that you have the position. And so I don't know what else to do. I guess in the moment I have to be a lazy player and not rush back and try to make it a play on a ball, which I think is a 50-50. I mean, people don't realize, he didn't touch the ball there. The ball came straight off my chest. So he had never had possession of that ball. I don't know where there's four referees on the field. There's a VAR where there's at least one or two. That has to be explained. And unfortunately, they can explain it, but it won't give us the points back. And that's why I'm gutted, and that's why this team is gutted, because that was 92 minutes of busting our ass, and it was stolen from us tonight.
How surprised were you that the ref himself didn't go over and look at it?
Surprise would be an understatement. I think we have a job to do on the field as players. The responsibility of a ref is to be very sure of it. And for a guy who I think has maybe 5 games to his name as a center referee, I don't care if he thinks that he was almost 100%. He needs to go look at that. That's too big of a moment for him to not go look at it and make sure what he saw live is the same thing that he saw. And if he still sees the same thing, so be it. But to not look at it, and that has to go on the VAR. If the VAR doesn't call him to do it, then that should go on him. And that's why there needs to be transparency. I mean, this is an easy thing that we had in the bubble where there's transparency in these rooms. I don't understand why we can't do it. It'd be great for fan entertainment. Players and coaching staff, I think, will enjoy the transparency. You guys will like it. Who's objecting to it, right? Is it the refs? Okay, well, let's solve that problem. But these are moments that we're not going to know what happened between, these 5 or 6 people. But I think everyone should want to know, and we should be asking these questions. They're too big of moments. We'll look back in 3 months' time right now, and this 2 points could be the difference between hosting a playoff game or not. That's the reality. And that's, we'll have to face that going forward.
So Ethan Finlay there, very baffled by that, says that the homie didn't even touch the ball, that the ball came off him to start with. And I think Minnesota's biggest complaint is that VAR didn't look at it. But I mean, it's obviously gone down to there's an element of doubt in the mind of the VAR official. We'll see if there's a pro referee's apology midweek, as we've been on the wrong end of. All I'll say about this is, I don't care. I will take this every day of the week. It got us a point, and we have been on the wrong end of calls like this in the past, and it happens to every team. You just kind of have to suck it up and live with it.
I don't blame the Minnesota team for complaining about it. I don't blame them at all. But I do see that there is. I don't think it's as clear as you guys are saying that it's definitely not a penalty. I can and I know I'm not going to change your mind, and you're definitely not going to change my mind. I'm not saying it's 100% a penalty, but I definitely don't think it was something that could have been reviewed. But VAR did take a look at it, right?
And for me,
yeah, they look at everything, and then they didn't feel it was enough to get the referee to come and take a look.
Yeah, and for me, Steve, your words of it's not 100% a penalty for me means it's not a penalty.
No, what did I say? I don't remember what I said there.
You said for me it's not 100% a penalty, but
I must have.
I think he meant
I worded it wrong.
Yeah,
I worded it incorrectly than what I said.
Someone else that didn't think it was a penalty was Adrian Heath, and we'll hear from the gaffers shortly. He, though, he's got a fine coming his way, judging by what's happened to MDS in the past. He mentioned that the referee didn't have a good night in general. I didn't think he was that bad. No, I wasn't really sure where he was getting that from.
It's Adrian Heath. I've interviewed him even after wins, and he's never been happy with officials fully. Like the thing is with him is, I've seen. I guarantee you, even if it was a clear-cut penalty, he would have been arguing against it. He's gonna be the opposing. If you're gonna call like this in the 90th minute, and you probably haven't had a chance to fully look at it, you're gonna get argumentative about it.
Oh, he did have a look at it.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Yes.
Because normally they say they haven't had a chance to look at it. Probably.
Yeah. Let's hear from both the gaffers now. So first of all, we will hear from Minnesota United's Adrian Heath, and then we'll hear from Marc Santos.
Adrian, have to start with the penalty kick call. What did you see? What did you hear from the fourth official or anybody else?
I think the referee's maybe the only one who thought it was. But considering the night he had, I shouldn't be surprised that he's probably made a really poor decision in the 93rd minute, because he's made him most of the evening, I felt. So he's not had a good night. So, but it is what it is, and we're not going to change it now. It's a disappointment, feels like a defeat, but it's not. And you've heard me say it a million times, a point on the road is never a bad result. Sure, we wanted the 3, and when you're so close, everybody's incredibly disappointed. Where I thought we were excellent second half, forgot about them, started to play. Even in the first half, where I thought we were nearly good, when we were at it and got in good spots, we created some good opportunities. And so I'm disappointed for the players, because on the back of putting so much in on Wednesday evening against the team that, makes you work so hard. We probably had our highest physical data that we've had since I've been here on Wednesday in LA. So for the same group to put the same effort and commitment in that they've done tonight speaks volumes. And although I said it sounds like a defeat, it wasn't. And we keep the run going, and we've set ourselves up nicely for next week.
Did you get a chance to look at the video of the penalty after the game between then and now?
Yeah, thought the kid threw himself into Ethan, and the refs fell for it. I didn't think it was a penalty. Seeing it live and then seeing it after. But as I said, Jerry, we can talk about it all night. It's a bad decision, but he was poor all evening. So, we shouldn't be surprised. It could have been the other way. He could have done it the other way. So and by the way, we all have bad nights. I have bad nights. Players do, and referees have bad nights. And tonight he didn't have a particularly good evening. So we shouldn't be surprised.
An interesting match, the way that played out. I mean, fighting spirit at the end to come away with a point, but very flat second half from your team. How did you see that one play out?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the first half was overall, there was some pockets of the first half where Minnesota started to find a lot of rain also inside between our midfielders, but the majority of the first half, I think, our energy, our counter press, our moments to step up were good. Then we scored the first goal. We have a very good chance to score the second one with a play that involved Guti, Daber, and Brian. Very, very close. We don't score the second one. And then in a play that broken, we didn't challenge well in the midfield. We weren't hard in that 50-50. They got the ball between our center backs too loud and 1-1. So I think that goal destabilized the team a little bit at half. When we came back to the second half, there was a wind blowing very hard against us. So sometimes it was very hard for us to get out of pressure. And if you see even the balls that Thomas played long, they would stop in the air, and Minnesota started to press us in our half. And we didn't have the ability through possession on the ground to get out of pressure and to get in behind them. But it was still it was a very chippy type of game. The second half, very uncomfortable type. And then when they got the goal through, a mistake from us, from a guy that has been enormous from the team. He's been giant. He's been a guy that helped a lot the team until now. And he has a moment that he's disappointed, and it gives a transition. And a guy like Claude is not going to miss there. But then we tried to push. We made some changes to push the game. We made some changes to just a little bit of to become a little bit hectic in a way of saying, and we knew we would open a lot of spaces, but we knew that it was a high risk and high reward type of last 15 minutes or last 10 minutes. Then we get the penalty shot. We tied the game. I think at the end, when you look at the two games between us and Minnesota, we definitely deserved the point. But we feel that we could have had a little bit more.
Obviously, the big news today was the addition of Ryan Gauld. He's obviously the kind of guy that you're looking for to add some of that spark and creativity to the middle of the park. Do you feel you can get him integrated into games really as soon as possible now?
So I promise you, Michael, that on Tuesday, I'm going to have all the time in the world for you guys and Ryan Gauld. So you could ask me everything, but I'm going to answer quickly. Integration. We want to do it in the right way. And unfortunately, it was a move that we worked for months. And he's just in after 16 games. We would want to do the move when there was 0 games. It didn't work like that. So it's a player that we want to integrate fast, but we have to be careful that we don't integrate him too fast, and then the muscles are not ready to contain the reality of MLS. So we'll do all our best to integrate him as fast as possible.
He's the gaffer. You can try it on with him. He's the gaffer. Even when he's on a limb. He's the gaffer. When his back's against the wall, has the answer to it all. He's the gaffer.
So the gaffers there, just giving their thoughts on the game, the penalty incident. It's all in the history books now. It's a 1-1 draw, and it's a 2-2 draw. It's a share of the points. It's 1 point each. And Vancouver can finally draw a line in the chapter that is their Sandy, Utah home. Hopefully there's not more outbreaks and lockdowns in the future that's going to get this going again, and we are back in Vancouver for good. But, I mean, MDS said after the game that basically he just felt that he didn't want to swear, but he basically indicated it was a shitty atmosphere and a shitty environment in the stadium for this one. He doesn't know what it was. It was just hard to get the guys going. They did look flat. There was just no spark up front.
I'm wondering if this, you mentioned the bad travel and everything, but remember, they trained all week in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Now, when you train in
On
one
grass
environment,
as well.
yeah, and you train in one environment and then you go play in another environment, that is going to affect you. Like they've always had problems with Rio Tinto when they go there on a road trip.
Yeah.
And this is essentially, it's officially a home game.
Yeah,
it essentially is a road trip.
It was. It's like 4 road games in a row that they've got now.
Yeah.
And I know Marc will argue that every single game's been a road game, but at least they've had a chance to be a little bit acclimatized and used to it. So they've gone back to Vancouver, then they've gone back to the altitude. And this
is the most road trip of a home game there ever will be in MLS.
I think as well, though, the whole emotional toll of this week can't be understated. Like, for these guys to suddenly pack everything up. A week ago, they're living in Utah. Then they're packing everything up, families and everything. Jake Nerwinski drove back with his wife and his dog. So you've got guys doing stuff like this. You've got guys that don't have anywhere to live, and they're thinking, am I going to get an apartment? How long am I going to be in a hotel? They're having to leave their families just to fly down for this game and then fly back again. Like, emotionally, you've got the highs of being back. For some guys, it's the first time they'll have been in Canada, first time they've seen Vancouver, and then you've got everything about, we're going away to play a home game, there's no fans, all that carry on again. It's tough for them. But I mean, hopefully they can draw a line under it now. From August onwards, we kick off with 3 away games. We'll come a little bit into that in the next part. The biggest concern for me, though, I mean, there was no spark up front. So Cavallini coming back should hopefully help that. There was no bite in midfield. We'll come to that in a sec. Defensively, I thought they were pretty poor and they were making mistakes. I still want to sign an experienced centre-back. I think that might help some of the stuff at the back. And then if Bruno Gaspar can get in and challenge Brown, see which one of them. But the midfield is what's going to make it all tick. And there was just nothing really coming for them in this game. Hopefully that will change soon, but it's not going to be immediate. We all knew it was coming. It was just a matter of when. Ryan Gauld is officially a Vancouver Whitecap. No. Ryan Gauld! Gauld! Want to hear that sang at BC Place on the 21st?
We finally got our number 25.
Yes.
Hey, isn't it perfect now? The top 25 in the world of attacking midfielders.
I like the way that they teased it with Axel sitting down and moving the bottles of water and putting the iron brew. And that got play in Scotland. Because I recorded my East Fife podcast this morning and the guys were like, did you have anything to do with that? I was like, no, you give me a lot of credit as to
I
How
think
much
somebody.
influence I have in the Whitecaps here.
I think somebody in the Whitecaps line has been listening to our podcast. You mentioning Iron Brew and stuff like that.
Oh, well,
They
yes.
probably-
I mean, it's obviously such a well-known thing, but I mean, folk there have loved it. The reaction, though, of a lot of folk in Scotland is, why is Ryan Gauld going to MLS? They're terrible, blah, 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 as we've talked about before. And that's just, they're showing the ignorant side of how good this league is, because it's not a retirement league.
Not anymore.
It's had that reputation, and I can see why. But it's like, this is an exciting young league with exciting young players. And as we'll talk about in the next part, the Bundesliga is basically becoming a feeder league for MLS, with all the guys that are joining MLS from German clubs. Zach's biting his tongue here.
But the thing is, you've said it in the past that you think that most MLS clubs can beat the Scottish team.
I do.
Right?
I totally do.
Like
Rangers
not-
would have a good time at the moment against a lot of the MLS teams.
No,
'cause
but if you line up the top team to the bottom team and they face off, like you face the top team in Scotland, like the Rangers versus who? I don't know, Seattle maybe or something like that.
Oh yeah, Seattle would beat Rangers probably just now.
Well, that's a very competitive team, right?
Yeah.
A match. And then,
I guess if you look at,
if
like,
you match
Austin,
it up,
would Austin compete with Rangers?
No,
I would be. I don't know. It'd be an interesting one. I would probably
No, I don't
fancy.
think so.
I would fancy Rangers to win that. I would
But if
probably
you-
fancy Austin to beat every single other team in the Scottish Premiership just now, though.
Well, yeah, you're more of an expert than me then on Scottish. So like people are saying that it's just the reputation right now.
Yeah,
Years
it's
ago,
ignorance of what this
it
league
hasn't
is.
changed. Yeah.
Off the field, doesn't Atlanta have like a top 20 or top 25 in the world attendance? I think it is.
Yeah, and Forbes rating of valuable clubs and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, we've got Gauld here now, and as we heard from MDS there when I asked him about it, the integration of him, it's not going to be immediate. They have to get him up to speed. I probably think if he has a good training session this week, he'll be on the bench for the Galaxy game, and we'll maybe get to see him for 10-15 minutes at the end. Fans should not be expecting him to suddenly come in and be a starter. He's just played a full Portuguese season, and he's in off-season mode.
Yeah, but he's going to be in preseason mode. But for me, I think they're really trying to lower expectations because they're like. But I don't think there's a need to. I understand where they're coming from, but for me, that if he, maybe he can't start, but he should definitely be able to get 30 minutes and fully integrated. Like he's probably the most talented player on the team right now.
Yeah,
talent wise. Like
I'd say so.
Yeah. So what more? Like, you just put him on the pitch and let him figure out what he wants to do and let him run with it. I think that people overcomplicate football and not like. But let the players play sometimes.
He hasn't played since the end of May, so he's not up to full match fitness yet.
He's not up to full match fitness. That's true, but and
he's had a hellish time getting here.
He isn't. I read about that. He is in the preseason kind of mode, so he should It's not like Pedro Morales where he's coming like he just played and he has had no time off.
Yeah,
if he was in Europe right now, he'd be in the beginning or middle of preseason mostly.
Yeah, I mean,
he's not going to be like Aliana, who was 20-30 pounds overweight at this point.
No, but he's a lot younger than
That's true.
Aliana as well.
30
so,
years.
I mean, there is that as well, half his age. But I think the fan base that is split into kind of different thoughts on Gauld. Some folk have him as the Messiah. Some folk have him as just a very naughty boy. But some folk think he's going to be the saviour for this team. Others are like, who the hell's Ryan Gauld? Why have we signed him? He didn't even make the Scotland squad at the Euros, which we've covered and we won't go into again. I worry that a lot of fan expectations of him are too high. That he's going to just come in and breeze it right away and just suddenly lift us through all these things. Now, he might, because he is a talent. But he's going to take a little bit of time finding his feet. You're playing in different kind of atmospheres. I don't know if he's ever played in altitude before, for example. And he'll be used to the heat, at least, from being in Portugal for the last few years. But I just think folk maybe need to temper their expectations for the first few weeks of him. So if he hasn't, by the end of August, if he hasn't got 5 goals and 5 assists, that's not the end of the world. He's finding his feet.
Yeah, is he used to taking a plane for a local derby?
Yes. Or a 2.5-hour bus drive going over a border for your closest game.
Yeah.
I don't know, the Whitecaps under 23s are playing FC Tigers next Sunday at Swangard. Maybe we could give them a run out in that.
I don't think so.
No, probably not. But if anyone hasn't read JJ Adams' article with Axel Schuster about all the trials and tribulations getting him into Vancouver, highly recommend that you do. It's fascinating. All these people that's like, oh, why can't the Whitecaps get stuff done? This deal was basically agreed in March, and then there was the sticking points of Firenze having to grease the wheels, as Zach and me were chatting about, just to make the deal happen and get Firenze to go away. I'm all for that. If it was going to drag on and we weren't going to get him if it went through the courts to next season, fine, pay that money. But definitely read JJ's article in the Province. It's fascinating. All the hassle he went through, getting denied boarding on a plane, having to quarantine, coming up here, getting a shot, having to wait for the 14 days after that. We've got him now. He's getting unveiled on Tuesday. Hopefully we'll have a fun one-on-one chat with him that will bring you, maybe as a special midweek show, maybe next weekend, but we're going to release the video of that on our YouTube channel as well. But we'll get to see him on the pitch soon. That's pretty much it for our Whitecaps chat for this part, but we're going to be back looking at what's been happening in a very busy week in MLS, both on and off the pitch, after this.
Hi, I'm Marc dos Santos, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Me over ever again. Just kidding, please do. I really wanna hang out with you. But fuck you! You're so old, you're like, seriously, what do you think you're doing? Your hands are so big and you're so tall. Wow, you know, I kinda wish I'd let you do that one thing that one time, but in retrospect, it would have been a bad idea, cause you don't care about me like I care about you, so that's bad. Never invite me over ever again. Just kidding, please do. I really wanna hang out with you.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's a new month, and you know what that means. It's a new Artist of the Month here at AFTN. And we've gone down to America for our Artist of the Month for August, out of Sacramento, California, now based in Oakland. It's a 3-piece band called Destroy Boys. Punk band, sort of Riot Girl sound. They don't like the Riot Girl tag, but I mean, it definitely has that sound to it. That was a song from their debut album from 2016, Sorry Mum. That was I Threw Glass at My Friend's Eyes, and Now I'm on Probation. Absolutely fantastic song. That was the first song I heard by them. Absolutely great song, great band. We'll bring you another song from them in the next part, and you'll have them all month long. Check them out. I've been trying to get hold of their CDs for ages because I'm an old-fashioned kind of guy, as you can see behind me. Well, you can't because you're listening to this on a podcast. Their CDs are very, very hard to get. I might have to wait till I'm down in Oakland to pick one up.
They go through a lot of band members.
They
Like
do.
they're especially drummers. Like drummers, they seem to always have a new drummer every couple of years or something.
Well, they were formed in high school, and the two girls that's the main stays off the band. They kind of formed it in high school, and it's actually the guitar player that writes all their songs.
Right.
So we're keeping our focus on MLS in this part, but not Whitecaps. We're going to look at the movements and shakings around the league this week, because it's been a very interesting week for transfers and trades. LAFC have been particularly busy. They've shipped out 2 big players. Canadian Marc Anthony Kaye, sent to Colorado for $1 million in GAM, a 2022 international slot, and they also gave Colorado a first-round draft pick as well as Marc Anthony Kaye. That was a little bit of a surprise one. Corey Baird was also flipped to Houston just 6 months after LAFC brought him into RSL. He went for $750,000 GAM and an international slot. So they're clearly stocking up on their 2022 international slots there. Let's look at the K one first of all. To do this move just before an important Gold Cup semi-final, I was not a fan of that. I'm not majorly surprised that LAFC have moved him on, because I think he was maybe a bit surplus to requirements there. He had a value just now. He has stated that he wants to go and play in Europe, so this was a chance to get something out of him, and they're needing to get some of this GAM for another transfer that they have lined up. But were you surprised to see Mac go to a Western rival?
Yeah, very surprised. That's one where I thought they would have sent him and the thing is they basically sent both of their players to Western rivals.
Yeah.
So,
and two guys that can really have big impacts on games as well.
Yeah. So my guess is that they have intentions of bringing players in that are higher end, and that's why the GAM is going to come in. That they're going to use to bring in these players and turn them into TAM players or basically TAM players down and buy their contract lower. So my guess is that they're like this last game they played during the weekdays. They played with a 5-man back, because I guess they just didn't have enough midfielders and forwards to put in there. So I'm assuming that that's what their plans are. I know they have marked a Colombian striker. I don't remember who it is or what his name, but
everyone has Colombians.
Yeah, so that's one that they're definitely looking into at this point.
I mean, were you surprised by A, the move, and B, the timing of it?
Yeah, I think a little bit, because I think very highly of him. But I think you bring up a good point, Michael, in that I think they see this as, we're doing this now because we know at the end of his contract or whatever, he is gone. And so I think they were trying to get something out of him before that happened, because I really hope he does go on to greener football pastures than MLS. And
well, I mean, he spoke pre-season when they did the round tables that he sees himself being in Europe.
Yeah. I can see him replace Hutchinson in Turkey with the Besiktas.
Oh, that might be a good shout, you know. I mean, I'm a big fan of Marc Anthony Kaye. I would have loved him here. I think a lot of people would have loved him here. He would have fitted in well. If we could have got him pre-season, he would have been tremendous. But he obviously was still in LAFC's plans there, or maybe the deal was just too rich for the Whitecaps to make that happen. Marc has spoke very, very highly of him in the past, as in Marc Dos Santos, and Marc Anthony Kaye has spoken very highly of Marc Dos Santos. When he first came to Vancouver, I spoke to Kaye about him when he was here with Canada, and he said, great coach, loved working with him, wished him all the best. And MDS has spoken highly of Kaye. So I think they both would have loved to have worked together here if they could have had that done. Let's be honest though, like right now, he would be a little bit probably, maybe, it's hard to say surplus to requirements, but when you've brought in Gauld and you've got Alexandre and you've got Vite come in and you've got like the likes of Bikel and you've got the young guys, bringing in Kaye when you're maybe only going for a 3-man midfield would maybe have not been the best spend of their money. But if they had got him pre-season, I think it could have been.
It could have been, but they also, I feel like maybe I'm sure that Bradley would have spoken. I think the Whitecaps probably knew he was available. That's my guess. and they might have not wanted to get him because they knew that he was planning on going
Yeah.
Europe, and they didn't want to they wanted something more long term.
Sending him here, of course, it wouldn't have really gone to a playoff rival, you could argue as well, which would have been better.
Exactly. I think they had to have known, Michael. Otherwise, it would be foolish for them not to bring him in. I mean, a player of his quality is, I think they have the GAM, right? I think they would have been willing to spend it.
They should have, yeah.
He has an club option for 2022, so he definitely I'm assuming Colorado would pick it up. They would definitely not let that one go. So this could be a thing where either Colorado identifies him as willing to keep him on for 2022, or at that point they sell him in the off season, which is surprising to me that LAFC didn't want to wait for that or try doing it this summer if they were really looking for it. They could have brought in a lot more money than just $1 million in GAM.
I mean, Colorado's playing some nice football as it is, and they've now added a very exciting piece to their midfield. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go on this season.
But the one thing about that, though, Steve, is would they have gotten a $1 million transfer fee for him? And if they did, that's not $1 million in GAM for them.
Yeah, that's true. The thing is transfer. I know Manuel works for them, but I don't know how accurate these things are, whether they would get this much, but its market value is at 6.6.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So that's, I think they could have gotten.
But the one thing, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, let's say they did get 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, whatever. Isn't the max amount that they can put of that towards roster and plus salary spending? Isn't that like 750,000 GAM?
Something like that.
75%.
No, they get 75% of the fee. Well, and MLS gets 25. But Zach is right. There is a set number, which I feel is very stupid for MLS. They should be allowed. Maybe not during the roster, but they should be able to take that money and use it to buy somebody else, and then not that money doesn't count against the captain. If they say they buy a player for 4, that doesn't count.
That would be really smart, Steve. I think it would be a step in the right direction, but I don't think that's how it works now. So in one sense, LAFC probably sees this as, hey, we're getting more money we can actually use on our squad.
I think that's the reason why they probably made this deal, if anything, for that. And Colorado are probably looking for that cash.
Yeah, it's often been said that with GAM, it's better to use GAM to bring in somebody from outside the league than give it to your rival within the league by doing it via trades. But LAFC's got a lot now, because Corey Baird is an interesting one, because they brought him in. We were surprised that he went there when he went there in January. And yes, he's a diving bastard from when he played against the Whitecaps and won that penalty. I won't forgive him for that. But I would maybe have forgiven if he'd come here, because if you were offered Brian White or Corey Baird, I'd have taken Corey Baird.
Yeah, and
he may not have been available, though, at that time. Things may have changed. But out of those two, Baird would have been a guy that you would have wanted to bring in here. He's got a good goal-scoring record in the league.
But the thing is, we also, for Baird, issue is that we don't know if he's willing to come to Vancouver, because Vancouver was in flux this year.
Well, he doesn't have a say.
I thought
it's
they
MLS.
Do.
No, they don't.
I thought they had a little bit of a say. Maybe maybe Vancouver speaks to them and says, "Do you want to play for us?"
Clubs are nice. Like Montreal spoke to Evan Bush and said, "Look, Vancouver want to bring you in. Would you like to do that?" But that's because he was a long-time servant of the club, and they did right by him. But look at Breck Shea. Breck Shea found out 10 minutes before we did that he was coming here.
Yeah, but it could have been that maybe RSL did the same thing for Corey Baird and said LAFC wants you, Vancouver wants you.
Maybe.
I'm just using it as hypothetical.
Yeah.
And he said, send me to LAFC. So maybe.
But then why wouldn't MDS be trying to bring in someone like a Baird? Again, we all assume that he has a good relationship with Bradley.
Yeah.
And unless this developed overnight for LAFC, which is obviously possible,
But maybe LAFC did the same thing where they gave him options.
Yeah, but he may not have been available in June when we got White, and it might just be something that's transpired in July that they thought, you know what, we want to make a move for this guy, so let's get rid of Corey. Now, Colorado also brought in Dominique Badji from Nashville as squad depth for up front for 50,000 GAM and another 50 if they re-sign him next season. So that was a good bit of business.
That's a really good bit of business, yeah, especially for depth.
Yeah. Austin brought in Argentine forward Sebastian Druizzi as a DP. He was most recently with Zenit St. Petersburg. He's previously come through the River Plate system. They need a replacement for Danny Hudson, who's been out since week 5 and he's got a long-term injury now. So, I mean, that's a good addition. But they also added another forward, a free agent, Mackenzie Gaines, US Youth International. He's been with Hanover. Are you familiar at all with him, Zach?
No, but Hanover's kind of been in Division 2 for like they yo-yo a bit, and so yeah,
wouldn't he have had to gone through like some kind of draft or something? I don't know. Do they do those drafts anymore?
Oh yes, as a US. But then I think it's only been US Youth. I think it's only US Internationals possibly that you have to go through that.
I haven't heard of those drafts in a long time.
No, actually.
Yeah.
Another player coming from Germany to MLS is rumoured to be, at least it's not confirmed yet, from Eintracht Frankfurt, Dejan Jovilic. LA Galaxy looking to sign him. Are you familiar with him?
Okay, this I gotta look
Eintracht Frankfurt. Why don't you look that up while we cover some of the other stuff?
Well, he was a high end, because I think even Sebastian Romano or something like that reported on that one. So I guess he's a high end player or something like that. He must be.
Portland's added a forward, Colombian Santiago Moreno. He's coming in as an under-22 player. Portland's scouting with these guys is tremendous. Now, they don't all work out, but a lot of them do. They seem to have good, and Colombians do have a good record in this league, as we've seen here with our guys as well.
It's a good pipeline from Colombia to the US. It's always been like that.
It has, yes. Nothing to be sniffed at. But FC Dallas, they've extended Ricardo Pepi. We talked last week that he's definitely going to be going on for a fee. So they've got him in a 5-year deal to make sure they get some good money for him.
Yeah, that's to make his value even more for any European team that comes after him.
And the last bit of news just to cover off the pitch, ownership news. Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes, now part owner of Sporting Kansas City.
Well, that's what happens when you get a $500 million deal. That's what his last contract was.
Wonder if we can get any of the BC Lions to buy into the Whitecaps.
No, they do not get paid the same amount. They had to skip a year too.
That's true.
Jovilic has been on loan in Austria, but he has scored in the that's the Austrian Bundesliga. Yeah, he has not played much he's played 4 Bundesliga games, so and never scored in the Bundesliga. But he scored a bunch in the Austrian league. He scored like a goal every other game, kind of thing.
Interesting then how the Galaxies kind of identified him. Anyway, let's have a quick roundup of just the action in the West this weekend in MLS. On Friday, it was LA Galaxy. We'll keep talking about them since we play them next Sunday. LA Galaxy 4, Portland 1. I watched this game.
This was a confusing game for me because, again, the Galaxy were wearing green.
Yes.
Every time Galaxy scored a goal, Timber scored again. But it was it could have been 5 past Portland in this game. Easily.
Yeah, Portland looked all out of sorts in this one, and this is the best we've seen from the Galaxy since the early weeks, because Vanny had them ticking over really nicely in those first few games. Then they've kind of been a little bit up and down. Of course, they're going to maybe start to find some form just before they play the Whitecaps. The action kicked off on Saturday with a shock 1-0 win for San Jose at Seattle Sounders. Only goal of the game came in first half stoppage time from Espinoza. And
I count the other goal. I don't think the ball went across the line. I think it was 2-0. Give that goal to Wando.
I think Wando did it.
Oh, yeah. Flounder's going to flounder. It was great. Come on.
2 straight home losses for them.
I mean, yeah. When Wando scored that goal that disallowed and he's given the gears to the fans behind the goals, and it's like, and then they called it off. It's like, you look really stupid now. It was great while he was doing it.
No, they still won. Hey, they still won. It's okay.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know how, though, because San Jose looked terrible for the bulk of this. It was like 2-1 possession for Seattle, 11 shots to 5. Man, San Jose to get that win is big for them.
As my good Scottish friend always tells me, it doesn't matter what the stats say. All that matters is the result, baby.
It's true. And you just cannot disagree with that. Houston 0, Salt Lake 0. So that was a decent result for the Whitecaps, not the most exciting game. And then the other shock result of the weekend, Dallas went to Sporting Kansas City, came away with a 2-1 victory. And, I mean, Pepe didn't even score in this one.
Yeah, 2 goals from distance. These were... I talked about Ferreira was the second goal, and the first goal was Pomykal. Yeah, and then your buddy...
your buddy got a beauty.
Yes,
yeah, Johnny
2
Russell
in 2 weeks, 2 crackers.
Yeah, but yeah, FC Dallas, it wasn't even that close. Not close, but Sporting Kansas City, until the late in the game, did not show very much in this one.
Fun fact, which I'll share with you guys, as I will be no doubt mentioning it to Ryan Gauld when I speak to him. When Ryan Gauld made his debut for Dundee United, he was 16. He came on with a couple of minutes to go. Which player did he replace?
Johnny Russell.
Yes.
Get in.
What other player that played in MLS and has gone back to Scotland now was also in that squad with Ryan Gauld?
That guy from Salt Lake?
No.
Barry Robson?
No. Think New York City.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, the striker?
Gary Mackay-Steven.
Yeah.
And him. My last bit of knowledge, which current East Fife player came through the Dundee United system and was on a team with Ryan Gauld? If you get this, I'll be amazed. Danny Swanson. Anyway, no one cares about that. Let's get on to some more MLS chat.
I had Mary Samsonite, sorry.
So, yeah, I mean, that was a big, big win for Dallas. Colorado got past Austin 1-0. And then...
And this is where I wanted to mention, this is what I was looking up just to confirm. Austin is not looking good.
No.
In their last 11 games, they have been shut out 9 times. And they're currently on a 3-game streak where they haven't scored a goal. And they've scored...
They play the Whitecaps soon.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that like people are saying that they're like really, their gears are really grinding and they're just not moving forward at all right now. They had a great start to this season, though.
Steve, if they really think the trend's really bad, I think this calls for an interview with the Minister of Culture from their club, and we'll see. I'm assuming they just think things are going all right. But
I imagine that when I do the chocolate digestive thing with him, it's going to be something like chamomile tea. I'm so excited to do that with Ryan Gauld. He strikes me as a chocolate digestive kind of guy.
Well, don't get your hopes up. You're talking about the Whitecaps fans.
I mean, I was explaining on my East Fife show, I'm going to have that awkward chat with Johnny Russell that he's been replaced in my heart as number 1 now. And it's a new, younger version that's taken.
Can he pass on the restraining order, though?
Probably. I think that might just last 2 days before I get that at Whitecaps training. But we'll see. But anyway, those results at the weekend leave the standings as follows. Seattle out on top, 32. Kansas in second on 30. Galaxy third, 28. Colorado fourth, 27. LAFC 23rd, 23 in fifth. Minnesota 23 in sixth. Salt Lake, the team we're chasing now, in the 7th and final playoff spot on 21. Then outside looking in, Portland on 19, Houston on 18, Dallas on 17, San Jose on 17, Vancouver on 15, Austin on 13. So those 2 points dropped against Minnesota, big. Would have left us just 4 points behind Minnesota and Salt Lake. But hey, if the Queen had balls, she'd be the king, as we all know.
Quick roundup of Eastern games. New York City FC just trounced Columbus. It was probably the worst showing Columbus had. It could have been another 5 past Columbus in this one.
Oh, yeah.
Probably the most entertaining game that I saw was Orlando against Atlanta United. A lot of good goals in there, but Atlanta losing again. Not looking good for them.
Right at the end.
Yeah, it was in injury time for sure. New England comes back and beats the Red Bulls without Turner and Buchanan. They're looking like the strongest team in the East by far. Beckham gets his first win at home. They beat Montreal with a phantom penalty call. You're talking about bad penalty calls. This was there was no contact at all.
Okay. But shout out to our buddy in Montreal. What's his name?
We have a lot of them. Which one?
The podcaster.
Paul
gentleman.
Vance.
Yeah. I watched this game and at the beginning.
Oh yeah, Camacho Memorial game or whatever you want to call it.
They were praising Camacho on like how great he's been this year, and I think he was at fault for both goals.
I can't remember I don't remember the second one for sure. He held onto the ball for ages.
Oh yeah, the giveaway, yeah.
Giveaway. That's where when I heard Camacho, I go Camacho testimonial. And then the other game, Toronto-Nashville. Toronto keeps drawing games at home. They keep dropping points at home.
And that equalizer,
and they're actually playing at home.
Their equalizer. I don't know if you guys saw, was given up on a throw-in. One of those, like Rory Delap throw-ins.
But their goal off a set piece was pretty like Bradley. It was almost like a field goal. It was almost like a field goal because it felt like he was still holding onto the ball when they sent it in. It was like really quick on
like an alley-oop.
Yeah, basically. And Gonzalez hit it at home. It was a nice goal, but they keep drawing at home and that's not looking good for them to catch up. They needed some more wins.
But they have the players to do it.
Yeah, true.
It's a busy midweek. There's a lot of games coming up. Just looking at the ones that involve Western teams, Austin play Houston, and with the form that Austin's in, you might fancy Houston to get 3 big points in that one. But
That's
it's a
their first
Texas
meeting.
derby.
Yeah, first meeting between them.
So, I mean, anything can go in a derby game. Seattle-Dallas.
Yeah.
You kind of want Seattle to make sure that Dallas don't continue a run there. LA Galaxy, Salt Lake.
But wouldn't it be nice to see Seattle lose a third straight game at home?
It would.
It's a really tough, Sophie's choice there.
LA Galaxy, Salt Lake. Basically, you kind of want the Galaxy to win that so that Salt Lake continue just being outside of the playoff spots. Also, I wouldn't mind a couple of sending offs for the Galaxy as well, just to have them weakened. Even take just a one-game injury or something, just to get them a little bit weakened for the matchup on Sunday. We'll be nice and fresh for that one for a change, whereas they'll be coming off 4 days rest. LAFC, Kansas City, that should be a cracker. And then Portland, San Jose. Another Sophie's choice. Don't want San Jose to get points. Don't really want Portland to get points either. But that is it for our MLS chat. We will be turning our attention to the international scene next, as we'll be talking about the heartbreak that happened on Thursday night, the Gold Cup exit, and we'll be back with that after this.
Hi, I'm Marc Anthony Kay, and you're listening to the AFTN radio show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's another song from our Artist of the Month for August here at AFTN, Destroy Boys, from their second album, 2018's Make Room, and that was Gold Medal. Partly played because we've got our own golden boy in Vancouver, but also because the Olympics is in full flow. And the Canadian women are going for gold on Thursday after a fantastic win over the US in Monday mornings. I was going to say Sunday night, but early Monday mornings. Olympic semi-final. And what an absolutely fantastic win it was for Canada. Their first win over the US for 20 years. Only their fourth win over the US in 64 meetings between the two countries. And you felt going into this one, this was their chance. This was an American side that has not been performing, struggled so far to get through the Olympics. Canada looking really good defensively, still wondering where the goals might come from, but you really felt this was their chance. They felt that as well. They went out and took it. All the talk for the last year or so, since Bev Priestman took over the helm with this Canadian women's side, is it's always been talking about changing the colour of the medal. No matter what, they've done that. After back-to-back bronzes, they're either going to be gold medal winners or they're going to be silver medal winners. I wish I could get the thoughts of Steve and Zach on this, but we recorded the whole show on Sunday night. I'm just doing this bumper just now after the game is finished, just so we can bring you as up-to-date coverage of this as possible in the podcast. The decisive goal in the 1-0 victory came in the 75th minute. Jessie Fleming, from the spot, after a video review, adjudged that Deanne Rose had been fouled in the box by Davidson of America. Referee pointed to the spot. You thought, will Christine Sinclair take it? She had the ball, but she handed it over to Jessie Fleming. And what a fantastic penalty from Fleming. Unsavable, into the side corner, 1-0 to Canada, 15 minutes to go, and they held on fairly comfortably. I mean, Canada had a pretty good first half. It wasn't the most exciting half of football. America were starting to control the game though, starting to take over, and you thought it might just be a matter of time before they scored. But no, it was Canada that got the job done. They held on well, had a few American attacks that they thwarted. Absolutely fantastic win. You saw what it meant to all the women after the game at the final whistle, and when it cut back to the studio to CBC, just seeing Karina LeBlanc, just so emotional, just you know what it meant to her. She's been through this with so many of these women, and just fantastic. It's the only word I can use to describe it. I've said that several times now, but it's true. They're playing for gold on Thursday at a decent time as well for us here on the West Coast. It looks like it's going to be 7 p.m. kickoff. They're going to be facing Sweden or Australia. That semi-final doesn't kick off until another 40 minutes from the time that I'm recording this at 3:20 in the morning. Can they do it? No matter what, we're proud of them. They've done us proud. They're going to come home with a better medal than the last 2 years. Let's cross that finger for gold. But let's turn our attention now to the heartbreak that happened on Thursday night. The Gold Cup semi-final exit. If you'd said going into the competition, oh, you're going to lose a close one to Mexico, 2-1 in the semi-final, you'd be like, that's tough, but well, they've given a good account of themselves. The way that they lost it, it was a gut punch. It was heartbreaking. They played so well, they battled so well to go a goal down, to come back to tie it up, to take the game to Mexico. Before we get into some of the ins and outs, just what's your overall feelings of the performance, how the game played out, just how you're feeling about things now that the tournament is done and dusted?
Well, I'm going to take it as a whole, not just the game, but the whole tournament. I'm very happy with the way the tournament went. My thoughts on this game were like, whatever happens, it is gutting that the way they lost it because of the fact that they had a chance and they went so late. But overall, I'm like the fact that they were able to get so many, extra other players that might not have been in this lineup if they went full strength into these situations, and then get them this kind of experience. It's going to help them for the Gold Cup, in the 6 months when they play it again, and also the World Cup qualifying. I think that's the main thing there that we have to take away from the whole game. For this game, boy, I wish I didn't really have any expectations that they were going to win, only because I felt like they were going to get CONCACAF eventually, and I felt like there were some incidents that kind of pointed to that. There's nothing that can be done. Like I love the way that they battled. They stood up for each other, especially late in the game. We could probably talk about that a little bit later. But I think it was a fantastic overall tournament, and that's what I'm going to take out of this. Not just focus on this one game.
Yeah, I agree with Steve. There's lots to be encouraged by what took place in this tournament. Honestly, I'm feeling a little disappointed. I think that they really could have done it, and like I think I tweeted about this. This is the closest they've been to a finale since Atiba was onside. And although they weren't robbed like they were that night, it feels like the way they played at the end of the game, well, in both the penalties, really, especially the second one, were just naive or just momentary errors, to make those challenges. It's again, especially the second one, like going away from goal at the top of the side or top of the box or whatever. Like it just felt just a momentary brain lapse. And that was Marc Anthony Kaye right on the second one.
Yeah, second one.
They were both correct decisions.
Yes,
but they were definitely both penalties.
But they were foolish challenges from Canada's perspective. They should not, especially Marc Anthony Kaye, should not have given the Mexican player the opportunity to feel the contact, to go down, to win the penalty, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, there's lots of positives to take away, but I felt gutted. Like I felt like I can't believe this is ending the way it's ending. I think I don't know if I text this to both of you or whatever, but like Kirk and I were sitting here at this table watching it on the iPad. I was ready for it to go to extra time. I thought, okay, that we can either win it in extra time, or I feel confident on penalties. Obviously, saved one in the game, and that plays into the mentality around going into a shootout. But as soon as that ball went out wide, I said to Kirk, Kirk, oh no, you got to watch, Kirk, watch. And I
had the same feeling.
I could just feel it. You could just feel it coming. Like before the ball went into the middle, like just as soon as there was just like this buildup of pressure, or what, I don't know what it was, but as soon as that ball went to the wing, I was like, oh buddy, look. And it was just like
Max Crepeau must have been having Whitecaps flashbacks.
Seriously.
Stoppage time. Here we go again.
Yeah,
and there's nothing he could have done.
Yeah, he played.
But speaking of, like, he stood out in this.
Yeah, he was excellent. I mean,
him and Tejan Buchanan.
Yeah, like the positives for me, pretty much what you guys have said. Like it's shown the depth that we have now. Because, I mean, let's be honest, this wasn't a full-strength Canada, America, or Mexican teams. But that's also one of the negatives for me, because this was a real chance to win it. And watching tonight's final, several times I was watching that going, we could have beaten both these teams.
Yeah.
That was what the most frustrating aspect of it was, because America were there for the beating, Mexico were there for the beating. A good positive, they went toe-to-toe with them. As Steve mentioned, it's like they didn't get pushed around. They actually fought and they stood up and they didn't take any of the shit that goes with all this. And it's like, it got super chippy towards the end. And it was actually really nice to see them standing up for themselves.
Totally.
I'm not getting embroiled in all that.
And stepping up for each other, too.
Yeah.
I've been kind of busy since Thursday night. I'm doing some community event stuff. Well, there was some racist comments were made?
There was comments made online.
Yeah, online for sure.
Afterwards, but the reaction on the pitch did make me think, what has been said here? Because that reaction.
That was my first.
Because was it Lai?
Lai, I think there were several players, and the thing is, the one that was most getting involved was Crepeau.
Yeah,
Crepeau was like Crepo was. That's what I'm saying. Like these
I'm
guys were
speaking to
standing
Max
up.
this week, so I'll see. He might not want to share on the record, but we'll see what he says.
The way he was standing up for people, like showed me that like the leadership that he has, and he clearly heard something too. Yeah, they all heard something. The whole team. It wasn't just one person because they were all like getting like going after the person whoever said it. I don't know who said it, but it was clear that something was said.
It hasn't been identified or indicated publicly.
No, it's never been said that it's a player. There was a statement that went out about the racial abuse that Tajon Buchanan had got online.
I just saw a little bit of that from on Instagram. Yeah, okay.
But it was disgusting. We spoke about it with the England players after the Euros. They're just scum.
Was he being abused by like Canadians or by Mexicans or?
I think Mexicans by the looks of the names of the handles and stuff. But
okay,
they do it because he's a good player.
Yeah,
that's not an excuse, but that's why they're targeting him.
Yeah, we need to talk about that goal. Like, it was unbelievable. I know this is maybe going out of order.
No, but 1-0 to Mexico. It was a VAR penalty. It was the right decision. We don't need to get into that. Tajon's goal. I was worried when they went 1 down because I was like, do they have enough in this team up front to get the goal? And then Herdman moved Tajon into that attacking position.
Wish you they kind of done from the beginning.
I know. I think you said last week in the show that's what you'd like.
Yeah.
And he was outstanding, and every aspect of that goal was tremendous.
The fact that it was onside, the double step over, the cut in, and the shot, like it was.
He has got such a bright future ahead of him, and if he finishes this season in MLS, I'm going to be amazed, to be honest.
Well, I think said he's had multiple offers, right?
Yeah,
I think
Lens from France, Bruges from Belgium, Augsburg from Germany.
Yeah,
I think he will stay in MLS because I don't think New England wants to lose him. I think he could still get sold this summer and then loaned back for the remainder of the season.
Oh, that's
but I think I think 100% that he stays. I think I've heard it mentioned on a number of places that New England really wants to win the MLS Cup, and they're not looking to sell anybody and lose them. Matt Turner is another person that could be gone to Europe next year as well.
Yeah, he had a great tournament.
So I think they will possibly sell them or one or both of them, but then still keep them for the year.
I think Tajon would fit in really well at Augsburg. It's a Bavarian side that continues to grow and has some like good pieces in their side.
Are they in Bundesliga or?
Yeah, no, they're in the Bundesliga, and because they've kind of steadied their ship. They're not a yo-yo club. They've been in the Bundesliga for a number of years now.
Yeah,
and they have some quality, and I think they have a little bit more expectation.
And
a player like him could really, really help them.
Wasn't that Marcel de Jong's old team?
Yep.
When I was thinking, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, he's definitely got a very bright future ahead of him. Now, the game, it was looked like extra time was looming. Then we had all the shenanigans, all the stop-start with the fisticuffs and everything, and the pushing, the shoving. And then, of course, there was the stoppage for the Puto chant. And it's the three-tier thing. This was tier 1, and it was stopped. And Jonathan Osorio was asked about this after the game. Did he feel that disrupted the flow and the momentum of the game? And he said no, because it gave both teams a chance to get a breather. Yeah. But Mexico, I mean, it's easy to say Mexico benefited because they got the goal.
Yeah.
But Canada were in the ascendancy at that point.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And they looked more dangerous prior to that stoppage.
Could you? I think I had the volume either really low or off. Really low, I think. Was this audible? Like just
I heard it, and I'd heard it earlier in the game though as well. And it's like tonight as well. I heard it, and there was a Tannoy announcement of no, you can't do that, or we'll stop the game and stuff. So I mean, it's a small handful. Now, to be fair, a lot of the Mexican fans were going crazy with their fans for it and telling them to stop, which was good to see because they know that could have cost them. But it then led to the the goal being scored 9 minutes into 7 minutes of stoppage time.
Yeah.
And the breather obviously helped Mexico kind of calm down, kind of collect themselves, whatever. I understand why they're doing it, but it can be disruptive for the opponents, and it can help Mexico more than anything. So again, that can be used if the fans are thinking, oh, look, we need our guys to maybe get a chance to get together and plan something. Let's do this and we'll get a stoppage.
Yep.
I don't know what the answer is, but when they ended up scoring after it, it just made it all the more gutting, because it was hard not to think that had a big impact in it. But the winning goal, it was well taken. Not a lot that Max could do. I don't think Mexico deserved the victory in the night. In fact, both semi-finals, I think Qatar and Canada were the better teams in both semi-finals. I don't know if that's just my Canadian-coloured glasses shining through, but I would have been an exciting final. Tonight's final wasn't exciting.
Yeah, the thing is, the Qatar one was definite. That Qatar felt like they were the better team in that one. U.S. just got through by the skin of the teeth. The Canada one, I would say it was 50-50, but Canada looked like the more exciting team.
Yeah, Mexico probably shaded the first half, but I thought Canada were way better in the second half.
Yeah, but there was more excitement behind that Canadian team, and that's why they probably looked better on the pitch.
But I mean, it was absolutely gutting. Let's hear some audio now from after the game from John Herdman, Maxime Crepeau, and Jonathan Osorio.
And I wear it for my lady, the Canadian flag, baby.
Yeah, proud of the lads, Neil, but broken inside, to be honest. It's, we really wanted to get to that final. It's been tough. I mean, that was a tough match. It's tough to take in the last minute, eh? It's, we're feeling it. It's, yeah.
I just wanted to ask you, you didn't seem to be intimidated by the atmosphere, by the team. You guys went out there and I guess, what is it about this team that doesn't get intimidated, which you couldn't say that about Canadian teams in the past?
We just said, we'd play with no fear tonight. I showed them our London 2012 performance with our women's team, because I felt tonight that's, this Gold Cup is the closest I've felt to a connection with a group of people. So they got to see our women, and they weren't frightened tonight. They left all their fears behind and committed to each other. Just kept it that simple. We had a clear game plan, and that spirit, that fight for each other. People underestimate how hard that is to create in a team, but when it's there, it's special. And I think you're seeing that specialness tonight, that Canadian grit, that Canadian resilience, but also more than that. And that's what we wanted to show tonight, that we're more than that grit and resilience. We can play, and we can go toe to toe with the best in CONCACAF. Those men, some of those men came of age tonight, and some of those men, gave what they could in a red shirt, and that's all I can ask for. It's all the country can ask for. We're just gutted, like really gutted. We really wanted to take this country to the next level tonight, and we never made it.
Hi Max, I know this is probably the last thing you want to do just now, stand there talking to us, but as gutted as you all are just now, so many positives to take from Canada in this tournament going into the World Cup qualifiers. I know it's hard to think about that just now, but it must give you such a boost for these big games coming up.
Yeah, how are you? I hope you're well. Honestly, it's a frustrating feeling. It's a gutted feeling. It's not fun, but tonight we did a big step as a nation. close the gap to Mexico, which hands down their favorite. We all know that. But to be honest, this is what the program is about right now. We can compete with anyone in CONCACAF. We've proved it. And I'm really, really proud of this group. This group is a solid one. The player pool is tight. And it was a big step forward for us tonight as Canadian. And as one nation, we really feel that everyone is behind us, and we go forward from now.
I just want to ask you about this team. I know there's been a lot of talk about this team and how close you guys are and how you guys play for each other. And you really showed that tonight. You really demonstrated that tonight. Can you just give me a thought on the closeness of this team and just the adversity you guys all went through and to be able to do what you guys did tonight? It was just so impressive.
Yeah, we're a family. I think we're a family. I think people from the outside can sense that and feel that in this team. And inside this team, it's an amazing feeling what we have in the locker room. We are a family. We are all brothers, and we fight for each other. We all have the same goal, and we all want to make history together. And I think we showed that on the field today. We showed that throughout this tournament. So many things, so many factors played against us, not only today, but throughout the tournament with injuries and things like that, missing players. But the guys here, we showed that we have heart, and, we're not scared of anybody. We believe in ourselves, and we're ready to show the world that we're ready to take the next step.
And I wear it for my lady, the Canadian flag, baby.
So John Herdman, Max Crepeau and Jonathan Osorio there, just some quick post-game thoughts. Obviously, I mean, you can hear from their voices, John Herdman especially. It was really tough for John to speak after the game. And like the players that came up, brave of them. It was nice, actually. I got to ask Max the question because at least he had a friendly voice that he knows asking him a question after it. But like John, he only took 4 questions and then they cut it short. He really struggled to find the words. But I mean, what they've all spoken about is what a group this is. It's like a band of brothers. They feel really close-knit. John Herdman said that this, apart from maybe the 2012 Olympic with the women, he's been searching for kind of getting that kind of feeling again, and he's got it with this group of players. I mean, the future, it's so bright for this team. It's so exciting. When you think of all the guys that we were missing, I realistically think we can get through the octagon, get to Qatar, because Costa Rica's no great shakes. And I mean, America and Mexico is still going to be the favourites when they've got full strength guys in. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah, I think the 3-6 is very close. Like I think it's basically I think we're in that group right now. I think Costa Rica. I think I still, even though they don't look good, they weren't at full strength. No team was at full strength in this tournament. I think they're good. I think you got Jamaica has still got potential.
I mean, off their own accord as well.
Yeah, and Andre Blake, if he's in form, he can easily steal a game or two here and there. Honduras, that's probably the one that's probably out of this 4 teams that I probably have the least confidence in. But I definitely think Canada,
Costa Rica could find some young guys and totally revamp their squad. Teams, I think they need to.
Yeah, but I think 3-6 is definitely the range where I think who's the other 2 teams? I can't remember.
El Salvador, Panama.
El Salvador the ascendancy.
And and Panama doesn't look very good at all. Like at this point, they didn't look good in this game, in this tournament. No, except for being part of the most exciting game with Qatar, they didn't look that good. So yeah, I would say 3-6 is where they're looking, and I definitely have probably the most confidence at this point over the last 6 months that they are capable of getting that number 3 spot.
Did either of you watch the final tonight?
No, I'm not going to watch that.
I was at a community event until right before we got on here.
But I saw the highlights.
I had it on. watched some of it with half an eye, some of it in more detail. First half was exciting. Second half I found really boring. And then US go on and win it late. The amount of late goals that the US have got in this tournament is incredible. And it's like you've got to tip your cap to them. It's like they fight to the end. And they find a way of getting it done.
I think they've also found a lot of. It was a good tournament for the U.S. because they found a lot of players. While it wasn't a perfect tournament for them, they found a lot of players that can help them in the qualifying depth-wise as well.
And that's what you need, especially with a pandemic still going on. There can be speed bumps along the way for players possibly getting over, quarantining, all that kind of stuff. So you want to have depth. Thankfully, we've got it. Injuries as well can wipe it out, as we know. Hopefully, Fonzie is going to be back for the next lot of qualifiers. But it's an exciting time to be a Canadian national team fan. Just can't wait for these qualifiers to get underway. But that is it for this part. We've got one more part to come. Just going to be a quick one as we turn our attention to the domestic game in Canada and the Canadian Premier League, because the teams are all headed home and playing in front of fans. And we'll be back chatting about that after this.
Hi, I'm Maxime Crépeau from the Vancouver Whitecaps, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
I remember the day when you left me standing. I remember the day when you left me stranded. And I waited for you, but you never seemed to come back home. I remember when you said we'd be together. I remember when you said we'd last forever. And I waited for you, but you never seemed to come back home. Back home. When I see your face, I must stop the place. Good, I'm counting the days till I'm coming back home to you. She take me back home to that Bonington.
Welcome back to the final part of this episode of the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part to celebrate Ryan Gauld, the Scottish Messi or the Scottish Messiah. I don't know what one we're going to call him.
I don't think he wants to be called either.
No, he doesn't. He just wants to be called Ryan. But we've got to have a nickname for him. But to celebrate him coming here, I thought I would play a song by friend of the show and Scottish recording artist PG Charletta, East Fife supporter. We've played him on the show before. That's his latest single, Bonnie Toon. Check out the video, it's filmed on the banks of Loch Lomond. And he got a great recommendation this week from Robert Carlyle, Begbie himself, who had tweeted out that he'd heard this song and was loving it. So Phil's very cock-a-hoop about that. So we're playing that just to get you to buy Phil's records. No one really buys records, I guess, anymore. Check it out on iTunes and Spotify and all those kind of things. PG Charletta. Great stuff. But we're going to round off the show this week just chatting about the Canadian Premier League. Now, the teams, they're all back in their home markets. Not all of them yet have played a home game, but they're at least home training. They'll all be playing games in front of fans. And the first game to be played in BC in front of fans since the Whitecaps took on Kansas City, professional game we're talking about, on February 29th last year, took place in Langford on Friday night, Starlight Stadium. It was 689 days since the last game was played at Starlight Stadium.
Is that how many people were there?
It wasn't the 5,000 sellout that I was expecting.
Yeah,
I have to say, but
I was disappointed.
yeah,
It wasn't that bad for a first game.
I was
After.
disappointed on one level, but understanding, I guess, on the other.
yeah. The supporters section in particular seemed quite empty.
So a nice tifo.
Oh, lovely tifo. They did so well in that. The noise and the atmosphere was fantastic from the fans that were there, so let's say that.
I just feel bad that in the photo I saw that the Nolan Worth two-stick was backwards.
I never noticed that. Of course, maybe a whole plethora of fans from the mainland couldn't get over because of the bloody ferry chaos that took place on Friday. That was one of the things in the end that made me decide not to go over, because things were pricey on the island. I thought it was going to be a nightmare coming back. And the ferry that I would have been getting back ended up getting cancelled, so I would have been stuck on the island overnight as well. So everything worked out. But it ended up a 2-0 win for Pacific FC over a short-handed Cavalry FC who's going through some injury problems and stuff at the moment. And Marco Bustos, what a story. The last game that was played in Langford all those days ago was Pacific against Valour at the end of the 2019 season. On the pitch for Valour that day was Marco Bustos. He's switched teams since then, lining up for Pacific, opened the scoring 3 minutes in, and if it wasn't for Steve's favourite player, Marco Carducci, or was it Maxime Crepeau? He doesn't know.
Carducci.
Things could have really got out of hand.
It was stylish Carducci.
Yeah, he's been rocking that kind of bandana and the long hair for a little bit now, but some big saves from him. He was a big player for Cavalry in this one. It took until the 86th minute for Pacific to get their second. What a screamer.
Yeah.
Gianni dos Santos, no relation to Marc or Philip, just came on the pitch. It was basically his first touch, ran in and goal, bang. Great finish. Great all-round performance, really.
Yeah, tight angle. If Carducci got his head on it, it would have taken his head off. That's how hard that shot was.
Yeah.
It was a nice finish.
I mean, Pacific, they continue to excite. And it was great to see the fans back at Starlight. It was great to hear the atmosphere. Speaking to a couple of folk and just seeing folks' tweets and messages that were at the game, they all loved it. They all had a great time. This team, if you haven't had a chance to watch them yet, find a way to watch them. Get the highlights. Check it out on YouTube if you don't want to subscribe to One Soccer. They're playing lovely stuff under Pa.
Yeah. And it's amazing that, you expect Pamudica, that, as center back, you don't expect him to play this a wide open game, but he's got them playing like all over. I would not want to be a defender on an opposing team playing.
No.
Their
Their attacking core is so strong and so varied. I mean, for this game, you had Tern Campbell and Matteo Polisi that didn't even make the bench.
Yeah.
Like, they're held in reserves. It's like, that's how stacked this team is. I did feel a bit for Cavalry, though. They couldn't even field a full bench. It was like they've just had a lot of problems. Ali Musi went down with an injury after scoring in the last game through in Winnipeg. I asked Tommy after the game if he felt that they needed to look at expanding this roster. If you're playing games every couple of days, it's grueling, it's injuries. Yeah. These guys haven't played a 23-man roster. I know budgets and everything. They need to look at expanding this and letting them have extra players.
You need more in your stable if you're going to have a good team out there for Cavalry.
Yes. Just going to play a little bit of audio now from post-game. It's not great quality because the setup for the Zoom call basically involved Pamudica and Marco Bustos sitting somewhere and a laptop getting shoved in front of them with the laptop camera and microphone being used for the post-game. So we'll play you what we've got. Let's hear now from Pa and Marco. Obviously, you'd been looking forward to this day for a while, the first game back in a couple of years. Marco, a bit weird for you because the last game that was at Pacific, you were playing for Valour against them. What was this occasion like for you both? Obviously, the win helped, but just did you soak it all in tonight?
I mean, I think it's been a long time waiting for sports like in Canada and for us, our fans. Like you mentioned, the last game they played was October 19, 2019. scoreline 2-0 Pacific against Valor, and today, like a year, 9 months, and 12 days to be exact. The boys get to see the fans again. The fans get to see the players that we signed last year in the offseason, but never witnessed them, but watched them from PI and Winnipeg in the bubble. So to be home and get 3 points and the way that they played, for me as a coach, I was very happy. I think we started the game well, get a good goal. Then we had a little period right after around 28th minute where we didn't control the game, but overall I think we controlled the game, and I think the results could have been more, but it's fair result 2-0.
Yeah, and for me, it's just exciting. We've gone a while without fans. 2 bubbles, and like the coach just said, it's been a long time waiting, and it was important, I think, for us players to give the fans a win in our first game back, and this organization is going forward, and it was a great way to start that, and just like the patience they've had with everything, and how they came out today, the fans was really amazing. We just go game by game.
So Pamadou Ka and Marco Bustos there just chatting a little bit after Pacific's big 2-0 win on Friday.
Yeah, that interview needed subtitles, and it's hard to do that for a podcast.
Now, Saturday's action. Alan Koch's FC Edmonton played their first home game at Clark Stadium. Again, not packed to the rafters, but good to see fans in there. And they looked good. 3-1 win over Valor. Everyone was like, are Valor just doing well because they're playing every game at home? This was their first test away from home. And the Eddies, big 3-1 win. And that sets up a tasty El Clasico clash on Tuesday. The first Alberta derby of the season, taking place in Cavalry at Spruce Meadows. It's going to be a cracker. Let's hear a little bit before that game. The home opener coming up on Tuesday was always going to be a special occasion anyway. The fact it's the first El Clasico of the season, there's a new man in charge at Edmonton, restoring old rivalries. Just what are you expecting from that game on Tuesday?
Well, it should be, again, like this, a great atmosphere. We talked about it before the game, there's going to be an emotion involved because the players, the coaches, the fans, they all feel it. It was up to us to try and be the party poopers today, and we didn't achieve that. And I'm sure Eddies will be in the same way. We're under their new coach, trying to come in and make things tough for us. But that's the nature of this league. I think the league has got better in general. There's a lot of really good teams out there that will take the points off each other. And you see that in the West, right? Three West teams are in the top 4, and it's going to make for a very interesting go-around because, with Pacific, we've got like a 5-game series with them. And that's just how it's going to unfold.
So that was Tommy Pilden Jr. from Cavalry FC. I'm looking forward to that game on Tuesday. Before that, though, Halifax have their home opener, and Stephen Hart's going to be back in the bench for that one. It's great to see him back, so wish him all the very best. There's games every couple of days. It's going to be hard to watch them all, to be honest. I think I'm probably going to rely on watching highlights on YouTube for some of them. It's too much. I don't like saying that, but it's like there's just so much football to watch just now.
This is the summer, the feast of football.
I've got my New Zealand stuff to watch. The Chatham Cup.
Bundesliga starts soon. Been watching some preseason.
I haven't even subscribed to East 5 TV for this season.
What?
I'm not getting up at 7 a.m. to watch that shit team.
But you go to BC Place all the time.
I don't get up at 7 a.m. for that. That's weird. I'm just watching the highlights the next day and then just talking about it. We've put our podcast back to the Sunday now to do it so I can just watch the highlights for free. Talking of Scotland, though, let's finish the show with this week's Wavelength. And in tribute to Ryan Gauld, I thought I'd pick a song with a Scottish bent. Now, I'll warn you in advance, this song has some swearing in it. Well, quite a lot of swearing in it. But it's Irvin Welsh. It's like, what do you expect? This is Primal Scream, Irvin Welsh, and On You Sound, with a song from 1996. They brought it out for the Euros, and it's called The Big Man and the Scream Team Meet the Barmy Army Uptown. Something a little bit different for you.
In every hick town in Caledonia, across the pseudo nation, you can see the most fucked up scum that was shot into creation. When a blue mercury line atop equals no imagination. You're unbelievable. You're unbelievable. You're unbelievable. You're unbelievable. The mystery of Scottish sport is why we hate the English so. I love the English very much, as long as they don't fucking beat us in the European Nations Cup. Sitting and waiting for the inevitable shutout that never comes. Sitting and waiting for the inevitable shutout that never fucking comes.
So something a little bit different for you there. Primal Scream, Irvin Welsh and On You Sound with the big man and the Scream team meet the Barmy Army Uptown. If you made it to the end of that one, I salute you. But that is it for the end of this show. If you made it to the end of this show, I equally salute you. Thank you for joining us. Before we go, guys, any final thoughts, anything you learned this week? The floor is yours, Steve.
You can find me on Twitter at WhiteCapsBeat, and what I learned was Mexico made me cheer for the U.S., which made me feel more dirty and made me dislike Mexico even more.
Actually, yes. When America scored the winner tonight, I was kind of like, I'm quite pleased because of how things played out. Terrible. You've made me feel that way. Zach, what about yourself?
You can find me on Twitter at ZacharyAM. And this week, I would like to give a shout out to our good friend, Mr. Whitecaps. Congratulations on the birth of your second child. Hope you and your family are all doing well.
Yes. Congratulations to Nathan. He got a shout out on the broadcast just today as well.
Oh, right.
I think that was them just trying to throw in something nice as it looked like the Whitecaps were heading to another defeat. But yep, really pleased for Nathan, and enjoy a couple of weeks off on paternity leave. I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Read our stuff away from the numbers, aftn.ca. Give us a follow on YouTube. Subscribe, like, turn on notifications, because we hope to be bringing you a video chat with Ryan Gauld that at some point this week, maybe goes into next week, we'll see. We'll also release that as a podcast as well. But that is it for this week's show. We will be back soon. We may even bring you a midweek special because I've got a few chats lined up this week. Check your podcast feeds and all the socials that we have, and we'll keep you informed. But until next time, take care. Thanks for listening, and Mon the Caps. Bye, everyone.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
AFTN